So were you surprised by like some of the poverty levels in Philippines compared to what you used to in Australia?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's always an eye opener. But I was actually born in a squatters area. Squatters is like, you know, little shanty towns. But the one that I was born in Gamining in Scout Digia, it's a lot smaller than a lot of the ones that are around. Like, there's huge ones. There's ones that I've worked in around Smoky Mountain and Happy Land down in the port area of Metro Manila and Tondo, at the port there where they load all the cargo containers and the boats come in and stuff. That's a huge one. It stretches for kilometers. There's literally like 100,000 families and, you know, 500,000 people that reside in these places, and it's a full shanty town. Like, they make their money of collecting trash and sorting through trash. Like, it's Smoky Mountain's actually nickname is Trash Mountain, and the reason it's called Smoky Mountain is because the landfill got so big it became a mountain, and they just kept burning the rubbish, and each layer of the mountain, you can see it when you're walking up the mountain, it's just landfill layers that have been burnt and then turned to soil, and more landfill gets put on top. It's crazy, man. Like, yeah, I would say that's the most poor area that I've ever seen in my life so far. And there's a lot of places that are reminiscent of Tondo, Smoky Mountain. Like, where we have a house in Montalban, there's a street, it's called Payadas Road, and it's like a road like Smoky Mountain, but way outside of Manila. Like, it's in Rizal, it's in a province, and it's the closest thing to that sort of poverty scale, where people actually live amongst the garbage. Like, they live in the landfill, the trash tips, man. And I don't know, like, in the UK, Australia, America, like, I don't think that tends to happen. I think people work in those places and they collect, you know, recyclables and look for odd trinkets, and they might find some treasures like old clothes and so forth, things that they can reuse or you know, upscale or do stuff with. But yeah, it's definitely not the same as living in a westernized country like Australia. I don't see that people would make a living out of the garbage dump. Filipinos have really mastered the art of transforming literally one man's trash into another man's treasure type thinking. Like, I've seen handbags that were made here out of juice, plastic juice packets that the kids drink, and I've seen those in Australia. They were at a clothing shop selling for like hundreds of Aussie dollars, and it was a big thing at one point. And these bags get made by people that live amongst the garbage. Like, they collect the empty juice containers, and they tear them open and unfold them, and then stitch them all together and make like handbags and stuff out of them. And it's really, like, it's upcycling at its best. Like, you think that it costs them nothing to get the materials, and then probably not much for the labor of actually sewing it all together, and then they're selling for like literally hundreds of dollars. Like, yeah, but I don't know. See, this is the thing. What percentage of that money goes back to those people that actually harvested the rubbish and then did all the work and made that magic happen? I doubt that they'll be making, you know, into the hundreds of dollars per item, but at least there's a lucrative income coming from transforming something that was like nothing into something like that complete rubbish alchemy, like, you know.
So maybe for some of the viewers that wouldn't be aware of these conditions, I mean, just to make it clear, like the electricity in these places.
Oh, mate, if you ever go for a drive from Manila into Metro Manila, you'll see the power lines. They look like if a bunch of spiders were all running in one direction and leaving a web behind, but they all got tangled together. Like, but we're talking like literally hundreds of electrical cables, and all they do when somebody else wants to patch into electricity, of course, they have to register the meter box and all that sort of stuff and hook it up, but they literally just grab the line and tap it straight into whatever already exists. And it's the only way to describe it is like a mash, like a spider hive of webbing that lines the street, like right above the pavement. In some places you can see the sparks flying, and like, so as far as electricity goes, then that's one issue. And Electrics is relatively cheap as long as a majority of people only have electric fans and they don't have like air conditioning and stuff like that. And everybody's either got like their phones or a TV. A lot of people are watching stuff on their phones now. So, there's usually a TV and a refrigerator. And that would be the main consumers of electricity in a household. And, it's relatively cheap considering a lot of the houses aren't big. So they're not like having, 3 or 4 bedroom lights on. Like a lot of the houses, the housing here is really small. It's kind of like, I've never been to Japan, but I've heard it compared to like Japanese housing, whereas the difference is land and property here is relatively cheap in comparison to something in Japan, but everything is a lot downscaled. It's smaller,